Welcome back. Long videos. I know people don't have short attention span theater. It's like 2 minutes. So as I said in the last video, we were leading up to talking about stress. We defined health. We talked about biopsychosocial. We talked about Hanseli. We talked about all these other great people. So now let's talk about stress. What is stress? Stress is the process by which we perceive and respond to events called stressors. Stressor, I'll explain that in a second, that we appraise as threatening or challenging. And it's also a process by which the environmental or psychological stressors come to threaten an organism's safety or well-being. Okay, so events called stressors. So that is what stress. Stress is what happens to us when we're presented with a stressor. Bullying is a stressor. What kind of stressor is it? We'll get to that. So what is a stressor? Any event or situation that triggers coping adjustments. So it's sort of a definition within a definition. So stress, we'll get to that. How about this? Let's go this way. Physical stress. What is a physical stressor? Things such as injuries, infections, or extreme weather, which directly disturb or disrupt the body tissue of an organism. Okay, so that's a physical stressor. How about loud noises? Anybody? Environmental stressor. Crowding, loud noises, pollution, events or stimuli from the surroundings of an organism, such as background noise, crowding, or congestion, which causes additional demands on the faculties of an organism. So it stresses the organism's ability to cope. Now we've got words coming in that need to be defined, sorry. Psychological stressor. Events and stimuli which affect or disturb the cognitive or emotional functioning of an organism. So a psychological stressor could affect the cognitive, which means thinking, as well as emotional? Wow, interesting. I'm being sarcastic. I knew that already. Then, there's another factor. What kind of stressor is it? Well, what kind of stress is it? Is it acute stress? Short-term stress. Acute means short-term. So it would be like if you were scared, startled, you poked your finger, things like that. That's acute stress, something that lasts for a very short period of time. Then there's another, chronic stress, which I would probably say 90% of Americans are under chronic stress, and our bodies are not meant to endure that. So let's see, chronic stress. Events or triggers that are continual in their expression or their effects. Activate stress response systems and leads to PTSD, post-traumatic stress, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, my daughter was diagnosed with PTSD. Can't imagine. Like, really, I actually have a letter from the psychiatrist at the hospital saying she has a PTSD with severe depression with PTSD as a result of bullying since 2nd grade. Hi? And I'm fighting? Really? This kid's still in the school system? So, as I mentioned homeostasis before, allostasis. Allostasis is the body attempting to maintain balance or homeostasis through the process of repeated activation of the stress response systems. What are those? Let's get into those. Your sympathetic nervous system is what will activate your stress response, fight or flight. It's a group of nerves that run along the spinal cord and connect to internal organs. These are called ganglia. They act as a single system or in sympathy, and this controls the fight or flight response. When that happens, the SAM or SAM axis or system is activated. What is that? The body's initial rapid-acting response to stress involving the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine, from the adrenal medulla under the direction of the sympathetic nervous system, which we just mentioned before. So this tells this to respond. So this creates fight or flight. What's one of the main components of that? Adrenaline. It's also known as epinephrine. Secreted by the adrenal medulla, it helps trigger fight or flight. It's part of the sympatho-adrenomedullary system, or the adrenomedullary system. So that's that SAM axis, which I mentioned in another video. Once you've gone through that initial response, and we'll talk about more about that, there's a general adaptation syndrome that Hanseli named, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the next part of the body system in the nervous system that kicks in is the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay? And these neurons are not connected, so they can work independently of each other. And they work to help the body recover from the effects of the sympathetic neurons' actions, decrease heart rate, breathing, energy conservation, all those things. Okay? That does so by activating the HPA axis or system, the body's delayed response to stress involving the secretion of corticosteroid hormones from the adrenal cortex. It demonstrates feedback loops too, so it can sort of keep giving more. It's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenocorticoid. Yeah, I think. Okay, so that's the HPA. So what is cortisol? Corticosteroid. Cortisol is the main one that's released from that, and it's the corticosteroid, and it has a potent effect on all of the body's tissues, including raising blood glucose levels. It's regulated by the hippocampus, which is in the brain, like deep in the brain. So, what do you do when you have stress? Now we know how it works, how the stress response works. What do we do when we have stress? We get into stressor appraisal. And we'll cover that in the next video.